Senior year and graduating high school is an extremely exciting experience, but it also has its stresses with expecting 18-year-olds to know what they're going to do with their life, where they're going to go to college, and what career they want to enter into for the rest of their lives. This is why something called a gap year started in Britain around 50 years ago, and it's becoming increasingly popular. It's technically a year off between secondary, high school, and college. This year is spent traveling, changing perspective, getting out of the comfort zone, and developing life skills and just discovering what a young adult wants to do with their lives. I did personally take a gap year right after high school. It was 9 months long, and I went to 5 different countries. We worked with local ministries and partnered with locals to help just further on their ministry and just serve in any way we could. I lived in a very tight community, which was a challenging experience, but gave me friends for the rest of my life and taught me skills needed to communicate effectively and live with people. It also changed my worldview and gave me direction for what I wanted to do in life because I had no idea what to do after high school. So what is a gap year? Some gap year students spend their year volunteering abroad, or it can be spent domestically volunteering or in your local hometown, just working right after high school and saving money to go to college. I knew a lot of people who actually did this in high school. They stayed home after college and they worked and saved money so that they had the resources when they were actually ready to go to school and knew what they were interested in. Some gap years, according to O'Shea, can range between $3,000 and $20,000. I actually do know some that cost $30,000. These are more like a vacation. So it just depends on your program or if you're organizing it yourself. I fundraised for my trip. It was challenging, but my community rallied around me. There are also some schools who they have a gap year fellow program. I knew a girl who did this while we were on our mission trip. She got $5,000 towards her trip as a scholarship from Florida State, and she just had to blog for them once a month, and she actually got credit for her gap year. So why do a gap year? It gives you greater career adaptability. You get the opportunity to try new things and develop new skills. You can figure out, do you like teaching English? Do you like working administratively? Do you like traveling? This is all an important thing. It's important to know what you don't like, just as important as it is to know what you do like when deciding a career or a major. So it's just useful for individuals to foster their curiosity regarding professional and personal development. It also affects your worldview and perspective. Often we develop the most when we go outside and talk to people whose beliefs are different than us and our core beliefs are challenged. This is ultimately what makes us successful adults and causes us to really form our identities and decide why we believe what we believe, and that gives us a strong foundation for becoming a Christ-like adult in the future. It's just very important to engage with people whose ideas are different. That's a huge part of life, and we have to learn how to navigate that and appreciate it. It also just gives you a sense of how big God is, or traveling in general. You get to see how big the earth is and how beautiful it is and how many different cultures are in the world and how God loves each individually. So my personal experience, it was very challenging, but I learned so much and grew so much. The road to getting on my gap year was just as time consuming as when I was there. I fundraised probably like my whole senior year. So from September for my senior year until I left the next August, I was fundraising $15,000, but my church really rallied around me and made it possible for me to go because they really supported me and donated. On my gap year, I learned how to live communally, how to solve conflict, and work together in a team, and it taught effective communication, which is something you definitely need if you're planning on going to college. If you're living in California, you're probably going to need roommates for a long time, so this is just an important skill in general. I also learned more specifically what I want to do in life. I like to work in community development and create sustainable methods for getting people out of poverty and sharing the gospel. My gap year is actually the reason I ended up going to CBU. In conclusion, gap years give students a time to refresh and refocus from this grueling education experience that lasted 18 years and just get to be on their own for once. It's an opportunity to try new things, discover what you like, what you don't like, Students also get to expand their worldview and become a better global citizen because they're interacting with different cultures, and they get to realize that there's more outside where you've grown up, and it challenges who you are as a person and helps you develop your identity. Ultimately, a gap year is a great chance to grow in your relationship with God because you're depending on Him for direction, and it could be a scary time when you're out of your comfort zone and you're just learning new reliance. So this is why I think that it's important to take a gap year.